Ryan Garcia, that last fight against them.
What happens when a fighter known for flair, flash, and fast fists gets outgunned by someone they never took seriously? How does the boxing world react when the supposed golden boy gets dethroned not by a legend, but by a man many dismissed as an afterthought? Well, buckle up, because the night Rolly Romero beat Ryan Garcia wasn't just another chapter in boxing history. It was a high-octane explosion that rocked the sport from top to bottom. The atmosphere was electric. Fans came in droves, most of them ready to see Ryan Garcia reclaim some sort of throne that existed in his social media-fueled kingdom. He had the image, he had the endorsements, he had the followers, and he had just enough boxing skill to keep the hype alive. But on this night, none of that glitter turned into gold. The crown fell, and Rolly Romero, the guy with the grin that never fades and the awkward stance that defies logic, grabbed it with both hands.
I'll give him that, probably like 9 out of 10 for sure.
Where are we gonna see you 5-10 years down the line? You're a superstar.
Not 5-10 years down the line. I don't know, probably still fighting.
From the opening bell, it wasn't a clash of titans, it wasn't war, it was confusion. Garcia, once known for lightning-fast counters and Instagram-ready knockouts, looked hesitant. Not cautious, not calculating, just stuck. Stuck between running and thinking. The speed was there, sure, but the heart seemed checked out. Rolly, on the other hand, looked like a man who had been told he wasn't invited to the dance and decided to crash it anyway, then burn the whole ballroom down. Watching ringside, the legends had expressions that ranged from amused to outright stunned. Antonio Tarver leaned back with eyebrows raised so high they nearly left his forehead. Mike Tyson looked like someone just slapped his popcorn out of his hands. Nobody expected Rolly to not only win but to look like the more composed fighter while doing it. It was bizarre. It was brilliant. It was boxing.
You fake it till you make it. We made it.
You ain't fight nobody.
Shit. What? Look at that. He gotta lie. He gotta lie. Imagine that. Who we having for? Imagine that. They gotta lie. They gotta lie. They gotta lie all the time. They can't even believe their own lie.
Derek James, usually calm and reserved, couldn't hold back. He shook his head in disbelief. Garcia looked scared of getting hit. That wasn't an insult. It was an observation. Fighters know when someone is protecting a soft chin. They smell fear. And Rolly? He didn't just smell it. He bottled it and used it as fuel. He marched forward with the kind of reckless calm that makes people nervous. Every punch wasn't just a jab or a hook, it was a message. The numbers told an even stranger story. CompuBox tracked 15,000 fights. This one ended up in the top 5 of the lowest punch outputs ever. Think about that, 15,000 fights. And Ryan Garcia, the guy with hands faster than Twitter trends, ended up in one of the quietest duels the sport has seen. Where was the urgency? Where was the fire? Where was the guy who shadowboxed in luxury cars and called out world champions on TikTok? He wasn't there. He vanished somewhere between the lights and the expectations.
Feeling my way, that was the AI scorecard, artificial intelligence.
I retreat and you land 2 or 3 shots. I think Ryan, one of these fighters is going to have to show some separation in this round, I believe. This fight's.
Meanwhile, Rolly Romero was all muscle, all movement, and all madness. He didn't swing wildly, he picked his shots. He didn't brawl like a maniac. He danced like a lunatic with purpose. This wasn't the same Rolly people laughed at. This was a guy who had studied, trained, and plotted. He wanted this. He showed up for this. He wasn't just throwing punches, he was stealing thunder. The reactions came in fast. Fighters, trainers, commentators. They all tried to process what just happened. Was it the layoff? Did Garcia lose his hunger? Was it the PED drama, the online distractions, the modeling gigs, or the fact that he seemed more focused on being famous than being feared? No one knew for sure, but one thing was clear. He got beat. And not by a fluke, not by luck, but by a man who had every reason to lose and decided he just wasn't going to.
Ryan Garcia is going up to 147. I'm not going to say, I think he's going to be fast. I'm not sure if his strength is going to translate to 147. It went with him to 140, but that doesn't mean it's going to go with him to 147 because that's welterweight. And now he's back with Eddie Reynoso. So I want to say in my opinion, he didn't look. He looked all right with Eddie Reynoso. He looked his best, in my opinion.
Virgil Ortiz's face said it all. There was no shock, just a nod. He called it as it was. Rolly landed more, fought smarter, stayed busier. This wasn't robbery. This was reality. Even the fans who wore Garcia merch to the venue left wearing disbelief on their faces. The guy they thought was invincible turned out to be very, very human. And, oh, the drop. When Garcia hit the canvas, time slowed down, not in a cinematic slow motion for effect kind of way, but in the gut-wrenching, awkward silence that takes over a room when the unthinkable becomes real. It wasn't brutal, it wasn't devastating, but it was enough to shatter illusions, enough to tell the world that Ryan Garcia isn't who he or anyone else thought he was.
And it's a big surprise, Jim, that we're even in round 10. Odds makers had the over-under for this fight at 6.5 rounds. And it's easy to forget, but Garcia against Haney lost most of the rounds where he did not score a knockdown. He scored 3 of them, but he was getting outboxed otherwise.
Even Eddie Hearn looked like someone had canceled Christmas. This fight was supposed to build to a Garcia versus Haney rematch, a mega payday, a marketing dream. That dream ended with a Rolly Romero right hook and a confused look on Garcia's face. The bag dropped. The hype popped. The path forward? Murky. It wasn't just Garcia's fans who were stunned. It was the entire boxing ecosystem. This sport feeds off stars. It craves kings and heroes and villains. Garcia was supposed to be the next one, young, good-looking, charismatic. But Rolly took all that and flipped it. Suddenly, he's the name on everyone's lips. He's the guy trending. He's the one fighters are calling out. Not because they think he's weak, but because he just proved he's not. Rolly Romero, the meme, became Rolly Romero, the menace. As the post-fight interviews rolled in, one thing stood out. No one knew what to say about Garcia. Was he done? Was he distracted? Was he just having a bad night? There were theories, but no answers. What made it more confusing was how composed he looked afterward, like it hadn't really sunk in, like he still didn't believe it. But the legends? They knew what they saw.
Yeah, I'm the character. Matter of fact, hey, let me get that Richard Mill that you got there. Let me get that Richard. Let me get that Richie. Yeah, I know. Hey, Todd, how you doing, Todd?
I'm doing well. Let me talk to Arnold for just a second.
Who cares about that guy?
Not gonna let you get a word in edgewise on it.
A fighter who came in with noise but left with silence. A man who had the world at his feet but forgot to keep his gloves up. A boxer who lost not just a match, but something deeper. Maybe confidence, maybe direction, maybe both. Romero, meanwhile, didn't gloat. He didn't need to. His smile said enough. He beat the man no one thought he could beat. He didn't just win the fight, he rewrote his own story, from punchline to problem, from background noise to headline act. As the dust settled, the boxing world was forced to ask some hard questions. Who is Ryan Garcia, really? Is he a contender, a content creator, or something in between? Can he bounce back? Does he even want to? And what about Rolly? Is this the start of something real, or just a flash of chaos in a sport built on unpredictability?
That one landed. That landed. That's the third of the big roundhouse rights upstairs, and that one landed. Zab Jr.
Good body shot.
One thing's for sure, the fight changed everything. Not because it was pretty, not because it was technical, but because it broke the rules of expectation. It reminded everyone that in boxing, nothing is guaranteed, not even hype, especially not hype. Garcia's future? That's a riddle wrapped in a silk robe and a cloud of cologne. He could come back stronger. He could disappear into influencer land. He might regroup, refocus, and redeem himself. But if he doesn't, the sport will move on. It always does. Romero's future? He's suddenly the wild card, the guy you can't ignore, the one who might lose tomorrow, or might wreck your favorite fighter's plans. He's chaos in trunks, and boxing loves chaos.
In Manhattan, at Times Square, New York City, New York, an evening that fight fans will never forget, as we have 3 outstanding fights. Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza Jr. Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero.
How happy are you to see Ryan Garcia back? I mean, come on. Come on. Let's go. Ryan Garcia is back, baby.
The legends will keep talking, the fans will keep debating, the replays will keep running. But what happened that night was more than just a win or a loss. It was a shift, a realignment, a reminder that boxing doesn't care about your followers or your flash. It cares about grit, about heart, about showing up when it counts. And on that night, Rolly Romero showed up like a storm. Ryan Garcia showed up like a question mark. And the rest of us? We got to witness something rare, a moment when the sport we love reminded us why we love it. As the dust settled, the echoes of disbelief were still bouncing around the boxing world like a speed bag on a sugar rush. Just when fans thought the fight game couldn't get weirder, Rolly Romero showed up, ripped the script, ate the script, and then beat Ryan Garcia with the shredded leftovers. Boxing purists are still trying to reset their senses, rubbing their eyes like cartoon characters waking up from an anvil-induced dream. And the legends? They've officially entered the roast zone. You know it's serious when the veterans of the ring, warriors who've traded leather with killers, start reacting like they just saw a TikTok dance off at a funeral. The gloves may be off, but the opinions? They're landing harder than body shots in the 9th round. From grizzled ex-champions to salty trainers who've seen it all, everyone's got something to say. And not all of it is rated PG.
Strong fighter, you can see it. And I think Ryan felt that strength and power tonight.
If Romero does indeed pull this off, this is one of the biggest upsets in recent years. He was plus 700.
Wow, I never saw this happening, bro.
Well, he's not just winning the fight, he's walking away. I mean, your card was 107-102. Reverse one round and it's, 107-102. Reverse a round, it's 106-103. He's still winning.
Lennox Lewis, quiet for most of the night, apparently sat up halfway through the bout and asked if he was watching a boxing match or a ballet recital. His final review? Well, at least the ropes got a good workout. Others didn't hold back either. One legend reportedly asked if Garcia's game plan was to impersonate a ghost. Invisible, barely there, haunting the edges of the ring without making contact. Even the trainers were baffled. One commented, "We trained fighters to move their head, not to vanish entirely from the action." Garcia's performance was like a magician pulling a disappearing act for 9 rounds, except the only trick was how fast his confidence evaporated after tasting Rolly's left hook. Meanwhile, Rolly Romero stood there like a man who just bought a sports car with Monopoly money and somehow drove off the lot. He strutted into the post-fight press conference like he was walking a runway, complete with shades indoors, too much cologne, and a smirk that looked surgically glued to his face. And you know what? He earned it. He didn't just win, he humiliated Ryan without even breaking a sweat. While Garcia circled like he was waiting for divine intervention, Rolly acted like he had dinner reservations and wanted to wrap things up before dessert. The satirical circus didn't stop there. Social media went into nuclear meltdown. Memes of Garcia floating like Casper, ghost of potential, flooded timelines within minutes. Legends like Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley weren't just sipping tea, they were dumping the whole pot. One commented, "If I had a nickel for every time Ryan threw a jab, I'd still be broke." That might have been mean, but was it wrong? Not even a little.
Right, Antonio?
Yeah, I think that was the only strategy, but I didn't think Ryan would cooperate with everything that Rolly was doing tonight. He cooperated, didn't really put up the resistance I was looking for, but still young, man. Like I say, we don't know the results of this fight.
Stop at the bell, gentlemen.
Something happened with the double left hook that put Garcia on his back.
Then there was the replay of the knockdown. A slow-motion breakdown revealed a 1,000-yard stare in Garcia's eyes as he hit the canvas, like a man who realized too late that the hype train had no brakes and no track. And Rolly? He stood over him like a cartoon villain, arms outstretched like he just dropped the hottest diss track of 2025. But perhaps the strangest twist in this soap opera came from retired legends who once defended Garcia. Even they looked like disappointed parents after a PTA meeting. "We thought he had it all," one admitted, but what we saw was a motivational speaker trapped in a boxer's body. Others questioned his priorities, his training, even his team. One trainer said, "You can't chase clout and championships at the same time. Eventually, one catches up and knocks you out." Rolly Romero's victory wasn't just a W, it was a cultural moment, a shift, a new chapter in a book everyone thought had already been written. Boxing fans love a good underdog story, but this one felt like a comic book crossover. Rolly was the chaotic neutral who wasn't supposed to win, and Ryan was the golden boy who forgot the basics. The contrast couldn't be sharper.
Ryan versus Rolly, man, I'm gonna have to go with Ryan. The left hook is vicious. But I hope Rolly do some good promotion for the fight.
After the fight, Rolly didn't just take the belt, he took the spotlight. He snatched Garcia's headlines, his aura, and possibly his next sponsorship deal. Even brand executives watching from the front row were seen scribbling "cancel influencer deal" on their notes. Meanwhile, boxing legends are now sending out carrier pigeons with messages that read, "Bring back the hunger" or "Stay out of the ring." And it wasn't just Ryan feeling the heat. The entire influencer boxer era took a major hit. You could hear the air deflate from that circus tent. Legends were shaking their heads like disappointed senseis watching their art form turned into an Instagram skit. One veteran was quoted saying, "If I wanted to watch someone dance without contact, I'd go to a wedding." The fan reactions were no better. One tweeted, "My grandma throws hands with more urgency, and she's knitting mid-fight." Another wrote, "Ryan moved around like someone avoiding their ex at a party." It was brutal, but the internet doesn't lie, and in that honesty, the legends found their voice. They weren't just critiquing, they were sending a message to the next generation: protect the craft or step aside. As the night drew to a close, it was clear something seismic had happened. The crowd didn't leave buzzing about Garcia's next fight. They were chanting Rolly's name, throwing merch in the air like confetti at a boxing carnival. He may not be traditional, polished, or even predictable, but he showed up and put hands to work while the other guy chased shadows. Now, boxing historians are already rewriting the narrative. Once seen as a stepping stone, Rolly Romero is now a gatekeeper. And Garcia? He's either due for a redemption arc or a podcast series. One fan jokingly asked if Netflix already bought the rights to The Fall from Grace, working title The Ring and the Run. But amid all the chaos, satire, and sharp-tongued commentary, there's a deeper truth. Boxing is still about grit. It's still about showing up, no matter what the critics say. And on that night, Rolly Romero showed up like a man possessed. He wasn't there to dance, he was there to dominate. He didn't care about Garcia's fame, his fancy walkouts, or his millions of followers. He cared about landing shots, and he did, over and over.
Shrek both scored it 115 to 112. Velasco Roldan has it 118 to 109. The winner by unanimous decision, Rolando Rolly Romero.
The boxing world has a short memory. One day you're a king, the next you're a punchline. But nights like these, when the unexpected becomes reality, they stay in the books forever. Legends know this. That's why they were tuned in, why they're still talking, laughing, and shaking their heads. Because even after all their years in the ring, they still get surprised. And isn't that the magic of boxing? No script, no safety nets, just two people, two gloves, and the truth.
All right, so shout out to my man Ash, man. But listen, I'm the Giant Slayer, all right? I'm the Giant Slayer, and we slay every giant they talk about. And although I don't think Arnold Barboza is a giant, but I know who's behind it, bro. I know who's behind him. And you know, whoever's behind him, we gonna slay him.
If you loved this wild breakdown and want more insane takes on combat sports, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and leave a comment. Who do you think should fight Rolly next? Who can redeem Ryan Garcia? Drop your take. Let's keep this conversation swinging.